If you enjoy stories about standing your ground, teaching entitled family members lessons, and unexpected justice, please hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and comment your thoughts below. Your support means everything. I'm 61 years old, and I never imagined my own son would demand rent for me to live in a house I'd owned for 35 years. But that's exactly what happened on a cold Tuesday morning in March. My name is Walter Harrison. I bought this 3-bedroom house in 1988 when my wife Margaret and I were newlyweds. We raised our son Ethan here. Margaret passed away 6 years ago from cancer. Since then, it's been just me in this house, until Ethan moved back in. Ethan is 33 now. Lost his job 8 months ago during company layoffs. I offered him a place to stay temporarily while he got back on his feet. No rush. I told him, take your time finding the right opportunity. But 8 months turned into comfortable unemployment. Ethan stopped job hunting after 3 months. Started sleeping until noon. Playing video games all evening. Living off unemployment benefits and my generosity. I didn't mind at first. He was my son. He was struggling. What father wouldn't help? But then his girlfriend moved in. Ashley, 28, equally unemployed, equally comfortable letting me subsidize her lifestyle. That Tuesday morning, I made a gentle suggestion. Ethan, it's been 8 months. Maybe it's time to start seriously job hunting again? I saw some postings online that match your skills. Ethan looked at me like I'd insulted him. Dad, I am job hunting. The market's just tough right now. I understand, but you haven't had an interview in 2 months. And Ashley's been here 3 months without contributing anything. Maybe she could help with groceries. That's when Ethan exploded. You want rent? Fine. Pay the rent or move out. This is MY House now. You're just living here because I let you. I stared at him in shock. Your house? Ethan, I bought this house before you were born. My name is on the deed. Your mother and I paid the mortgage for 30 years. Yeah, and you're old now. Retired. Living on Social Security. You can barely afford this place. I'm doing you a favor, letting you stay. So either pay me $500 a month in rent or find somewhere else to live. Ashley stood behind him, nodding. Ethan's right, Walter. We're young. We need space. You're taking up the master bedroom. That should be ours. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My son, who contributed nothing to this household, was demanding I pay him rent to live in my own house. Are you serious right now? I asked calmly. Completely serious. $500 a month, starting next week, or pack your bags. I looked at Ethan, my son, who I'd raised, educated, supported through every challenge, and saw a stranger, someone entitled, someone who'd forgotten where he came from. I'll think about it, I said quietly, then went to my room. But I wasn't thinking about paying rent. I was thinking about teaching my son the most important lesson of his life. That evening, I called my lawyer, Timothy Davidson. We've been friends for 40 years. He'd handled Margaret's estate after she died. Timothy, I need to talk to you about my house. What about it, Walter? I explained the situation. Ethan demanding rent, threatening eviction, claiming ownership of a house he'd never contributed to. Timothy was silent for a moment. Then, Walter, that's your house. Legally, ethically, morally. Ethan has no claim to it whatsoever. You could evict him tomorrow. I don't want to evict him. I want to teach him a lesson. What kind of lesson? I want to sell the house. Without telling him. Let him think he's got all the power. Then show him he has nothing. Timothy laughed. A surprised, delighted sound. That's brilliant. And perfectly legal since you're the sole owner. But where will you go? My sister lives in Arizona. She's been asking me to move closer for years. I'll sell the house, move there, and let Ethan figure out what it's like to lose everything because of his own arrogance. I love it. When do you want to start? Tomorrow. Over the next 2 weeks. I work quietly. Timothy connected me with a real estate agent, someone discreet who understood the delicate situation. We listed the house privately, marketed to investors looking for quick purchases. The house was worth about $400,000. Located in a good neighborhood, well-maintained, no major repairs needed. We found a buyer within 10 days. A real estate investor named Jacob Palmer was expanding his rental property portfolio. He offered $375,000 cash, closing in 30 days. Done. I told him, but I need one condition. No one can know about this sale until the day of closing. Total confidentiality. Jacob agreed. He was used to discreet transactions. Meanwhile, Ethan and Ashley acted like they owned the place. They'd taken over the living room completely. Their gaming systems, Ashley's yoga mats, their clothes draped over furniture. They treated me like an inconvenient roommate. Did you pay the electric bill? Ethan asked me one evening. The bill is in my name. I paid it like I've paid it for 35 years. Well, we've been using a lot of electricity. You should pay more of the bill since we live here too. The audacity was breathtaking, but I smiled. You're right. I'll handle it. Ethan looked satisfied, thought he'd won, thought he'd successfully dominated his elderly father. The second week, Ethan brought up rent again. Dad, it's almost the first of the month. You owe me $500. I haven't forgotten, I said. Good, because if you can't pay, you need to start looking for a new place. Maybe a senior apartment? Those are probably more affordable for someone on your income. Ashley giggled. I ignored her. I'll have everything figured out by the end of the month. I assured him. You better. I'm serious about this. You can't just freeload here forever. Freeload? In my own house. The house I bought with money from my carpentry business. The house where I'd raised him. The house's mother. And I had turned into a home. 3 weeks into the 30-day closing period, I started preparing my exit. Quietly packed my essential belongings, clothes, photos, important documents. Rented a storage unit across town for furniture I wanted to keep. Going somewhere? Ethan asked when he saw me carrying boxes to my car. Just cleaning out some old things. Donating to charity. Good. This place is cluttered with your old stuff anyway. Maybe once you move out, Ashley and I can redecorate. Maybe you can. I agreed. For weeks in, I bought a one-way ticket to Arizona. My sister had a guest house on her property. She was thrilled I was finally taking her up on the offer to move closer. Walter, I'm sorry Ethan's treating you this way, she said over the phone. You don't deserve that. I know, but he's about to learn a very expensive lesson about respect and ownership. When are you going to tell him? The day the house sells. Not a moment before. Closing day arrived. May 15th. I woke up early, made my usual breakfast, acted completely normal. Ethan shuffled into the kitchen at 11 a.m. Where's my rent money, Dad? You'll get what you're owed today, I said calmly. Finally, I was starting to think you'd try to skip out on it. Ashley joined him. We're going out tonight to celebrate having our own place. Finally. They had no idea what was coming. At 2 p.m., I met Timothy at his office. We finalized the paperwork. Jacob Palmer signed the purchase agreement. The house officially transferred ownership at 2:47 p.m. Congratulations, Walter, Timothy said. You're now $375,000 richer and homeless. Not homeless. Free. There's a difference. Timothy handed me the cashier's check. $375,000. Plus, I still had about $200,000 in savings and retirement accounts. I was set. When are you telling Ethan? Timothy asked. In about an hour. I wanted to come home to a surprise. I drove back to the house. Ethan and Ashley were out, probably spending unemployment money they should have been saving. I left the official notice on the kitchen table. A letter from the new owner. To the current occupants. This property has been sold. I am the new owner, Jacob Palmer. According to real estate law, all unauthorized occupants must vacate within 30 days. Since you are not listed on any lease and did not have permission from the legal owner to reside here, you have 30 days from today to remove all belongings and vacate the premises. Failure to comply will result in formal eviction proceedings. Contact my attorney for any questions. Attached was a copy of the deed transfer, showing the house had been sold by Walter Harrison to Jacob Palmer. Dated today. I left my own note too. Ethan, you demanded rent from me to live in MY house. You threatened to evict me from property I owned. You forgot that respect and ownership matter. The house is sold. I'm moving to Arizona. You have 30 days to find your own place. Maybe this will teach you not to take family for granted. Dad. Then I left, drove to the airport, flew to Arizona, left my old life and my entitled son behind. My sister picked me up at the Phoenix airport. How do you feel? She asked. Liberated, angry, sad, all of it. He's going to call you, probably screaming. I know. I'm prepared. We got to her house in Scottsdale. Beautiful property. Guest house in the back with a bedroom, bathroom, and small kitchen. Perfect for me. I was unpacking when my phone rang. Ethan. I answered. Immediately heard yelling. What did you do? You sold the house. How could you do this to me? I sold my house, Ethan. The house I owned. The house you demanded rent to live in. You can't just kick me out. I live here. You live there. Now you have 30 days to find somewhere else. Just like you were going to give me 30 days. That's different. You're my father. You're supposed to help me. I did help you. For 8 months. I gave you a place to stay. Asked nothing in return. Then you demanded rent from me in my own house. So I'm teaching you a lesson about ownership and respect. This is insane. You're homeless now. Where are you even going to live? Arizona. My sister has a guest house. I'll be very comfortable. You, on the other hand, need to figure out housing. Maybe get a job. Become a functioning adult. I can't afford rent. Neither can Ashley. We'll be homeless. Then maybe you should have thought about that before demanding rent from me. Maybe you should have spent the last 8 months job hunting instead of playing video games. Dad, please. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Can we talk about this? We are talking about it. The house is sold. That's final. You have 30 days. Use them wisely. Where am I supposed to go? Figure it out. That's what adults do. They figure things out instead of demanding their retired fathers pay them rent. I hung up. Ethan called back immediately. I didn't answer. He called 17 more times that evening. I blocked his number. Ashley called next. I didn't block her initially. Wanted to hear what she had to say. Mr. Harrison, this is really unfair. Ethan and I were depending on that house. You were depending on my generosity, which you repaid by demanding I pay rent. That generosity is gone now, but we have nowhere to go. Ashley, you've been unemployed for at least a year. Ethan's been unemployed for 8 months. Neither of you contributed anything to the household. You treated me like a burden in my own home. Actions have consequences. You're really going to let your own son be homeless? My son threatened to make me homeless in my own house. I'm just returning the favor with actual legal standing. Goodbye, Ashley. I blocked her too. Over the next week, Ethan and Ashley tried everything. They contacted Timothy. He told them the sale was legal and final. They tried disputing the sale. No ground since I was a legal owner. They tried claiming tenant rights. Couldn't prove any lease or rental agreement. They were stuck. 30 days to get out. My sister and I watched the drama unfold from 2,000 miles away. Ethan posted on social media about how I'd abandoned him and stolen his home. The comments were brutal. It's not your home if your dad owned it. You demanded rent from your retired father. You deserve this. Maybe get a job instead of complaining on Facebook. A few people defended Ethan, mostly his unemployed friends who didn't understand property ownership either. But most people sided with me. Timothy called with updates. Jacob Palmer says they're refusing to leave. They claim they have squatters' rights. They don't. They've been there less than a year, and they're not paying rent. I know. Jacob's prepared to file formal eviction, if needed, but he's giving them the full 30 days first. Good. Let them feel the pressure. Let them understand what it's like when you don't actually own property, and someone with power decides you have to go. Week 2, Ethan tried a different tactic. He called my sister. I'd unblocked his number to see what he'd do. Aunt Rachel, please. Talk to Dad. He's making a huge mistake. No, Ethan. He made the right choice. You were disrespectful and entitled. He taught you a lesson. But I'll be homeless. Then get a job. Ashley can get a job. Together, you can afford an apartment. That's what adults do. The job market is tough. No, Ethan, the job market is fine. You're lazy. You thought you could coast on your father's success forever. Now you know you can't. He hung up on her. She laughed when she told me about it. Week 3, reality apparently set in. Ashley moved back in with her parents in another state. Just left Ethan without warning. He called me crying. Dad, Ashley left me. She said I was pathetic for letting you kick me out. But you're the one who sold the house. And you're the one who demanded rent from me in that house. Ethan, do you understand what you did? You threatened to evict your father from property he owned. That's not just entitled. It's delusional. I know. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Can you please help me? Help you how? Can I move to Arizona? Stay with you? Absolutely not. You burned that bridge when you demanded rent. You need to figure your own life out. But I don't know how. Then learn. You're 33 years old. It's time. Dad, please. Ethan, here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave that house in 21 days. You're going to find a job, any job, and start earning money. You're going to find affordable housing. You're going to learn to budget and survive on your own. And maybe once you've proven you can function as an adult, we'll rebuild our relationship. But until then, you're on your own. That's cruel. What's cruel is demanding rent from your retired father. What's cruel is threatening to evict someone from their own home. What's cruel is taking advantage of generosity and calling it weakness. You taught me cruelty, son. I'm just a good student. I hung up, felt terrible, but also justified. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let someone face consequences. Week 4 arrived. Jacob Palmer called Timothy. They're still here, not packing, claiming they'll fight the eviction. File the paperwork. I told Timothy, let's make this official. Formal eviction proceedings began. Sheriff's notice posted on the door. Ethan had 72 hours to vacate voluntarily or face forced removal. That's when Ethan finally cracked. He called me, no longer angry, just broken. Dad, I get it. I messed up. I was entitled and stupid. I'm sorry. I've spent the last month applying for jobs. I have 3 interviews next week. I found a room to rent for $400 a month. I'm trying. Please tell the new owner to give me a few more days to get my stuff out properly. This was what I'd wanted. Acknowledgement, effort, change. I'll talk to Jacob. You can have until the end of the week. But Ethan, you need to understand, this happened because of your choices, not mine. I know. I'm sorry. Sorry is enough. You need to be better. Prove through actions, not words, that you've learned. I will. I promise. I called Jacob. Give him until Friday. He's finally making an effort. Jacob agreed. Friday evening, Ethan was out. He'd moved into a tiny room in a shared house across town. Got a temporary job at a warehouse. Finally acting like an adult. But I wasn't ready to welcome him back yet. He needed to sustain this change, not just perform it until I forgave him. 3 months passed. Ethan worked consistently. Got a better job at a logistics company. Moved into a 1-bedroom apartment. Started paying his own bills. He called every few weeks. Dad, how are you? I wanted to update you. I'm well. How's the job? Good. Hard work, but good. I'm learning a lot. Saving money. I even started a retirement account like you always told me to. That's excellent, Ethan. Dad, can I visit? Come to Arizona? I want to see you. Apologize in person. Not yet. Give it more time. Show me this isn't temporary. 6 months after I sold the house, Ethan was thriving. Still working. Still managing his finances. Had a new girlfriend. A woman with a job and her own apartment. He was finally functional. Dad, I'm coming to Arizona for Thanksgiving. I already bought the ticket. You can say no, but I'm coming anyway. I need to see you. Need to apologize face to face. I discussed it with my sister. What do you think? I think he's earned a conversation. Not forgiveness yet, but a conversation. Thanksgiving Day. Ethan arrived. He looked different. Thinner, probably from actual work. More mature, less entitled. We sat on my sister's patio. Awkward at first. Then Ethan started talking. Dad, I was an asshole. I took advantage of you. Demanded rent from you in your own house. Treated you like you were the problem when I was the problem. I'm ashamed of who I was. Go on. When you sold the house, I was furious. Thought you betrayed me. But you didn't. You taught me the hardest lesson I've ever learned. That I'm not entitled to anything. That I have to earn my life. That family isn't about taking advantage of each other. Do you understand why I did it? Completely. You could have just kicked me out. But you wanted me to understand ownership. Understand that the house was yours. That you had power, not me, and that my entitlement was disgusting. I'm glad you understand. But Ethan, understanding is enough. You need to sustain this change. For you, not for me. I know, and I am. The job's going well. I got promoted last month. Shift supervisor. I'm taking online classes to finish my business degree. I'm building a real life. I'm proud of you for that. Can I ask you something? Why didn't you just kick me out normally? Why sell the whole house? Because a normal eviction wouldn't have taught you anything. You'd have blamed me, called me cruel, learned nothing. But by selling the house, legally, properly, showing you that I owned it and you didn't, you had to face reality. You weren't a tenant I was wronging. You were someone living in my property who demanded rent from me. The absurdity was undeniable. Ethan nodded. It worked. I'll never take ownership for granted again. I'll never demand something from someone who's being generous. I learned. We spent the rest of Thanksgiving talking about his mother, about his childhood, about his plans for the future. It felt like healing. Before he left, Ethan hugged me. Thank you for teaching me this lesson. It sucked, but I needed it. You're welcome. Keep being better. A year after I sold the house, Ethan was a different person. Stable job, his own apartment, healthy relationship, financial responsibility. Everything I'd raised him to be. He visited regularly, always respectful, always grateful, never entitled. One visit, he brought his girlfriend, Lisa. Dad, Lisa and I are getting serious. I wanted you to meet her properly. Lisa was impressive. Nurse. Owned her own condo. Financially independent. She clearly wasn't tolerating any nonsense from Ethan. Mr. Harrison, Ethan told me what happened with the house. I want you to know I'm glad you did it. He was a mess when we met. Now he's a functioning adult. You did that. He did that. I just provided motivation. After they left, my sister said, you save him, you know. If you kept enabling him, he'd still be unemployed playing video games, thinking the world owed him something. I know. Sometimes the cruelest kindness is to let someone fail, and the kindest cruelty is to force them to succeed. 18 months after the sale, Ethan called with big news. Dad, Lisa and I are engaged. Will you come to the wedding? Will you walk me down the aisle? I cried. Of course I will. I'm so proud of you, son. I know Mom can't be here, but I feel like she'd be proud too, of who I've become. Thanks to you. The wedding was beautiful. Small ceremony. Ethan and Lisa exchanged vows about partnership and mutual respect, about building lives together based on equal contribution. During his speech, Ethan said something that made everyone look at me. 2 years ago, my father did the hardest thing a parent can do. He let me fail. He sold our family house out from under me when I demanded rent from him. It felt like betrayal, but it was love. Tough love that saved my life. People who didn't know the story looked confused. People who didn't know looked at me with respect. I was entitled, lazy, taking advantage of my father's generosity. He could have enabled me forever. Instead, he taught me that I'm not owed anything, that I have to earn my life. Dad, thank you. I'm the man I am because you love me enough to be harsh. He raised his glass. To Dad, the toughest and best father anyone could ask for. Everyone toasted. I cried. My sister squeezed my hand. You did good, Walter. You did really good. 2 years after I sold the house, I was happy, living in Arizona, close to my sister, comfortable financially, watching my son thrive. Ethan bought his first house, a modest 2-bedroom in a decent neighborhood. He and Lisa furnished it together, proud of their achievement. Dad, want to see our house? We're having a housewarming party. I flew out for it, walked through their home, saw photos of Ethan's mother on the walls, saw furniture they'd saved up to buy, saw a home built on mutual effort and respect. This is wonderful, son. Thanks. I never could have done this 2 years ago. I didn't understand what ownership meant, what responsibility meant. Now I do. That evening, Ethan pulled me aside. Dad, I've been thinking. The house you sold, you got $375,000 for it, right? Yes. That was below market value. You sold fast to teach me a lesson. You lost money because of me. The lesson was worth more than the money. I know, but I want to do something. Lisa and I have been saving. We want to give you $50,000. Partial repayment for what you lost. And for all the months we freeloaded. I was stunned. Ethan, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I took advantage of your generosity. I cost you money with my entitlement. Let me make partial amends. Son, save that money for your future. For kids someday. We have savings. This is separate. Please, Dad, let me do this. I accepted. Not because I needed the money, but because refusing would have diminished Ethan's growth. He was taking responsibility, making amends. That mattered. 3 years after I sold the house, life was good. Ethan and Lisa had a baby, my first grandchild, a daughter they named Margaret after my late wife. Holding baby Margaret, I thought about the journey. 3 years ago, my son demanded rent from me in my own house, threatened to evict me, treated me like a burden. Now he was a father, a homeowner, a responsible adult. All because I've been willing to do the hard thing, sell the house and let him face consequences. Dad, thank you, Ethan said, watching me hold his daughter. For everything, for raising me, for not giving up on me even when I was awful, for teaching me the lesson I needed. You're welcome. But remember, I didn't change you. I just forced you into a position where you had to change yourself. Same thing. You knew what I needed even when I didn't. My sister hosted a family dinner that evening. Ethan, Lisa, baby Margaret, and me, we talked about the past, but also about the future. Do you ever regret selling the house? Lisa asked me. That was your home for 35 years. You raised Ethan there. Your wife lived there. I regret that it came to that. But no, I don't regret the decision. That house was bricks and wood. My family is people. Saving Ethan was more important than keeping a building. You're an amazing man, Lisa said. Not many parents would have the strength to do what you did. Most parents love their children too much to let them fail. I loved Ethan too much not to. For years after the sale, Ethan surprised me with something extraordinary. Dad, I want to buy you a house here in Arizona, near us, so you can be close to Margaret as she grows up. Ethan, that's too much. It's not. You sold your house to teach me a lesson. Now I'm stable, successful. Let me give you a home near your family. They'd found a small 2-bedroom house 10 minutes from theirs. Move-in ready. Beautiful neighborhood. This is your house, Dad. I'm buying it outright. Putting it in your name. No strings attached. Because you deserve it. I cried. Son, this is too generous. You gave me everything. Let me give you this. I moved into that house 6 months later. My sister helped me furnish it. Ethan and Lisa helped me settle in. Baby Margaret had her own room for when she visited. Feels like home, I told Ethan. Good, because you deserve a home. After everything you've done, after everything you sacrificed. 5 years after I sold the original house, I was hosting Thanksgiving dinner in my new home. Ethan, Lisa, and Margaret, my sister, a few close friends. During dinner, someone asked Ethan about his success. How'd you get from unemployed and aimless to this? Gesturing at his obvious stability. Ethan looked at me. My dad sold our family home out from under me after I demanded rent from him. taught me the hardest lesson of my life, that I'm not entitled to anything, that I have to earn my place in the world, that family isn't about taking advantage of each other. That's harsh, someone said. It was, but necessary. I was a mess, entitled, lazy, taking advantage of my father's generosity. He could have kept enabling me. Instead, he forced me to grow up. Best thing he ever did for me. Do you resent him? The opposite. I'm grateful. He loved me enough to let me hit rock bottom, to force me to build myself back up. Not every parent has that strength. The conversation moved on, but Ethan's words stuck with me. 5 years ago, I'd made the hardest decision of my parenting life. Sold my house. Left my entitled son to figure things out alone. It had worked. Ethan wasn't just successful. He was genuinely better, kinder, more responsible, more grateful. You did good, Walter, my sister told me later. Margaret would be proud. I hope so. I hope she'd understand why I had to be harsh. She would, because she loved Ethan too. And she'd see what you saw, that enabling him would have destroyed him. 6 years after the sale, Ethan's business degree paid off. He got promoted to district manager at his logistics company. Significant raise. Real career trajectory. Dad, none of this would have happened without you selling the house. I'd still be unemployed, playing video games, blaming the world for my problems. You don't know that. I do. I was comfortable being a loser. You made me uncomfortable, forced me to change, saved my life. We were at a park, watching Margaret play. She was 3 now, smart, energetic, happy, everything a grandchild should be. Being a parent is the hardest job in the world, I told Ethan, because sometimes you have to hurt your children to help them. Sometimes you have to be the villain so they can become heroes. You weren't the villain, Dad. I was. You were just a hero who didn't let me get away with it. 7 years after I sold the house, I was diagnosed with heart disease. Nothing immediately life-threatening, but serious enough to require lifestyle changes and medication. Ethan was there through everything. Doctor appointments, medication management, diet adjustments. He'd become the caretaker, reversing our roles. Dad, I'm moving you into our guest room. You need help. We're providing it. Ethan, I'm fine. No arguments. You took care of me my whole life, even when I was awful. Now I'm taking care of you. I moved in temporarily. Ethan and Lisa treated me with respect and love. Never once made me feel like a burden. Never once demanded rent. We'd laugh about that sometimes. Remember when you demanded rent from me? I'd joke. Every day, Ethan would reply seriously. Every day I remember how awful I was. And every day I'm grateful you didn't let me stay that way. 8 years after the sale, my health improved. I moved back to my own house, but stayed close to Ethan's family. Margaret was 4 now, starting to understand family stories. Ethan told her an age-appropriate version of what happened. Grandpa taught Daddy a very important lesson, that we have to earn things, that we can't just take advantage of people who love us. Did you listen? Margaret asked. Eventually. Took me a while, but I learned. Good. I'll listen the first time. We all laughed, but Margaret's innocence highlighted how far Ethan had come. From demanding rent from his father to raising a daughter who understood respect and gratitude. 9 years after the sale, I was invited to speak at a parenting workshop. Someone had written an article about my story. The father who sold his house to save his son. Mr. Harrison, what would you say to parents struggling with entitled adult children? I'd say that enabling isn't kindness. That sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back and let them fail. That short-term pain can lead to long-term growth. But isn't that cruel? It feels cruel. But what's more cruel? Letting someone fail temporarily so they can succeed permanently, or enabling their dysfunction until they're 50 years old and incapable of functioning. What if they don't learn? What if they fail and stay failed? Then you tried. But in my experience, most people will rise to the occasion when they have no other choice. My son thought he could coast on my generosity forever. When that option disappeared, he found motivation he didn't know he had. The workshop was well received. Several parents approached me afterward with similar stories. Adult children living at home indefinitely, taking advantage of parental generosity, refusing to launch into independent adulthood. What should we do? They asked. Set boundaries. Enforce consequences. Love your children enough to let them struggle. It's hard, but necessary. 10 years after I sold the house, Ethan and I were sitting on his porch, watching Margaret play in the yard. She was 5 now, smart, independent, responsible even at that age. Dad, can I ask you something? Did you ever doubt your decision? To sell the house. Every day for the first month. I questioned whether I was being too harsh, whether I should have given you more chances, whether I was destroying our relationship permanently. What made you stick with it? Because I knew that if I backed down, you'd learn nothing. You'd see my threat as empty. You'd keep taking advantage. The only way the lesson worked was if I followed through completely. I'm glad you did. Genuinely. I know I said terrible things at the time. Called you every name. Hated you. But you were right. I needed that wake-up call. You became the man I always knew you could be. That made everything worth it. Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then, I'm raising Margaret the same way. With love, but also with boundaries. With generosity, but also with expectations. I'm teaching her that nothing is owed to her. That she has to earn her place in the world. That's all I ever wanted. For you to learn those lessons and pass them on. Margaret ran over to us, holding a flower she'd picked. Grandpa, for you. I took the flower. Thank you, sweetheart. You're welcome. Daddy says you're the best grandpa in the world. Daddy's biased, I replied, smiling at Ethan. No, I'm honest, Ethan said. You taught me everything that matters. How to be a man. How to be a father. How to earn respect instead of demanding it. That evening, Lisa made dinner. We sat together as a family. Something that wouldn't have been possible if I hadn't sold the house 10 years ago. Ethan would still be unemployed, probably alone, definitely miserable. Can I make a toast? Ethan asked, raising his glass. To Dad, 10 years ago, you made the hardest decision of your life. You sold our family home to teach me about ownership, respect, and responsibility. I hated you for it. Now I thank God every day that you love me enough to do it. You saved my life. Literally. I'd be nothing without that lesson. So thank you for being strong when I was weak, for being harsh when I needed it, for being the father I didn't deserve but desperately needed. Everyone raised their glasses. Lisa wiped tears from her eyes. Margaret asked, Why is everyone crying? Because we're happy, Ethan told her. Sometimes people cry when they're really, really happy. After dinner, I helped Ethan with dishes. Just the two of us in the kitchen. Son, I'm proud of you. Not just for your success, but for who you've become. You're a good husband, a good father, a good man. I learned from the best, even when I didn't want to. We worked in comfortable silence. 10 years ago, I couldn't have imagined this moment. Ethan helping with chores voluntarily. Being responsible, being kind. It had seemed impossible then. But people can change. When they have to. When they're forced to confront their worst selves and choose to be better. 11 years after I sold the house, I was at another milestone. Margaret's 6th birthday party. Ethan and Lisa had invited family and friends. Their house was full of laughter and joy. I watched Ethan with his daughter. Patient, attentive, teaching her to share with other kids. Teaching her to say please and thank you. Teaching her all the lessons I'd tried to teach him. Lessons he rejected until he had no choice but to learn them. He's a good father, my sister observed. You did that. He did that. I just push him toward it. Same thing. A woman I didn't know approached me. Are you Walter Harrison? Ethan's father? I am. I'm Susan, Lisa's mother. I wanted to thank you. When Lisa first started dating Ethan, I was worried. He was unemployed, aimless. I thought she was making a mistake. But he changed, became someone worthy of my daughter. Lisa told me you sold your house to teach him a lesson. That took incredible courage. It took desperation. And love. Those two things together can create courage. Well, it worked. You gave my daughter a good husband. Thank you. I'd never thought about it that way. I'd saved Ethan for him, but I'd also save him for Lisa, for Margaret, for everyone who'd eventually be part of his life. The ripple effects of that one hard decision had spread further than I'd imagined. Ethan's transformation had impacted his wife, his daughter, his colleagues, his friends. Everyone benefited from him becoming functional. 12 years after the sale, I was writing a book about parenting adult children, about tough love, about knowing when to help and when to step back. The hardest lesson I learned as a father, I wrote, was that my job wasn't to make my son happy. It was to make him capable. Happiness would come from capability, but capability required discomfort. Growth requires struggle. I had to let my son struggle. The book was published by a small press. Didn't become a bestseller, but it found its audience, parents of entitled adult children, people struggling with enabling behaviors, those who needed permission to be tough. I got letters, emails, messages from people who'd read my story and found courage to set boundaries with their own adult children. Your story changed my life. One mother wrote, my 35-year-old son was living in my basement, unemployed, playing video games. I was enabling him out of love. After reading your book, I gave him 6 months to get a job and move out. He did. He's thriving now. Thank you for showing me that tough love is still love. These messages meant everything. My painful experience with Ethan was helping others. The lesson that nearly destroyed our relationship was now strengthening other families. 13 years after selling the house, Ethan called with unexpected news. Dad, I got offered promotion. District manager to regional manager, but it requires relocating. To Arizona. That's wonderful. You'd be near me. I know. Lisa and I talked about it. We want to accept. Want to be closer to you. Want Margaret to grow up near her grandpa. They moved 6 months later. Bought a house 15 minutes from mine. Suddenly I was seeing them multiple times a week instead of few times a year. This is perfect, I told Ethan, having you nearby, watching Margaret grow up close. Should have done this years ago. But everything happens when it's supposed to. We fell into a routine. Sunday dinners at my house. Margaret's dance recitals that I could actually attend. Helping Ethan with house projects. Being the family we'd always been meant to be. One Sunday, Margaret asked me a question. Grandpa, Daddy says you sold your house to teach him a lesson. What lesson? I looked at Ethan. He nodded. I could answer honestly. Your daddy forgot to be grateful for what he had. He forgot that family means helping each other, not using each other. So I had to remind him in a way he couldn't ignore. Did he learn? He did. Eventually. Good. Because Daddy's the best daddy ever. Ethan's eyes welled up. Thanks, princess. After Margaret went to play, Ethan said, I can't believe she said that I'm the best daddy. Me, the guy who was such a disaster 13 years ago. You worked hard to become that. You earned it. Because you didn't let me get away with being less. You demanded better, even when it hurt. 14 years after the sale, my health declined again. The heart disease was progressing. I needed more help with daily tasks. Ethan didn't hesitate. You're moving in with us. No arguments. You helped raise me. Now we're helping raise you. Raise is a funny word for an old man. You know what I mean. We're taking care of you. End of discussion. I moved into their guest room. Ethan and Lisa managed my medications, drove me to appointments, helped with everything I needed, never complained, never made me feel burdensome. This is what family does. Ethan told me when I tried to thank him. You taught me that. Finally, Margaret, now 7, would visit my room every evening. Grandpa wanted to play cards. We'd play Go Fish or Crazy Eights. She'd chatter about school, about her friends, about her life. Normal grandfather-granddaughter moments that wouldn't exist if I hadn't sold the house 14 years ago. One evening, Ethan sat with me after Margaret went to bed. Dad, I need to tell you something. I'm grateful for everything, for raising me, for not giving up on me, and especially for selling that house. It was a wake-up call that saved my life. I know, son, you don't have to keep thanking me. Yes, I do, because I took you for granted for so long. Demanded rent from you in your own house. Threatened to evict you. I was a monster. The fact that you forgave me, that you're here in my house now, letting me care for you, that's grace I don't deserve. You've earned it through 13 years of being better, of choosing growth, of becoming the man I always hoped you'd be. I'm who I am because you didn't let me be who I was. You demanded more, even when it cost you your house, your comfort, potentially our relationship. You demanded more because you loved me. I held my son's hand. That's what fathers do. We love our children enough to let them struggle, to force them to grow, even when it hurts us to watch. 15 years after I sold the house, I was sitting on Ethan's porch, watching the sunset. Margaret was practicing cartwheels in the yard. Ethan was grilling dinner. Lisa was setting the table inside. This was my family, built from the ashes of the worst moment of our relationship, stronger because of it. My son had demanded rent from me in my own house. So I'd sold that house, taught him the hardest lesson he'd ever learn, about ownership, about respect, about earning your place rather than demanding it. 15 years later, that lesson had transformed him from an entitled, unemployed, angry young man into a successful, grateful, loving father and husband. The house I sold was just wood and brick. The family I saved was everything. Dad, dinner's ready. Ethan called. I wheeled myself inside. I use a wheelchair now, the heart disease having progressed. But I was surrounded by love, by family who cared, by a son who'd learned that respect isn't demanded, it's earned. Pay the rent or move out, he'd yelled. So I'd sold the house. Best decision I ever made. Because sometimes the only way to save your family is to destroy their delusions, to show them that entitlement leads nowhere. That respect and hard work build everything. My son learned that lesson, and in learning it, he became someone worth respecting, someone I'm proud to call my son. That's what matters. Not the house I lost, but the son I saved, and the family we built from the wreckage of his entitled demands. If this story resonated with you, please hit subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had to use tough love with family? How do you handle entitled adult children? What would you do if your own child demanded rent in your house? I'd love to hear your perspectives and experiences. Remember, enabling isn't kindness, boundaries aren't cruelty, and sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone face the consequences of their actions. Thanks for reading, and never be afraid to teach the hard lessons. They're often the most important ones.